So I know I left this on a bit of a cliffhanger last week.
But Chad, how do you know it's clean? But Chad's not safe, there's yakuza there. You could seppuku. You can't go to onsen. We follow you for onsen content.
And with the help of these beautiful Patreon bastards, I'm gonna try and give you the least cancerous, most accurate view of Japan tattooing that I can possibly give.
Wake up.
Since I just absolutely live on the sustenance I get from hate in the comment section, and boy, have I been starving for your vitriol, let's take on and challenge a lot of the weird ideas that Japanese YouTubers who are white, mostly 99% white, have about tattooing in Japan. It sucks I have to make this video because there's so much freaking misinformation, but it is rampant through any sort of Japan community that they just think for some reason all Japanese people hate tattoos. And the sad fact of the matter is, your favorite YouTuber, the one you think, oh, he knows so much about Japan, is probably wrong. And maybe fat and ugly, but mostly wrong probably when it comes to tattoos. Probably. I happen to be one of the few lucky white people who get to work in Japanese tattoo shops as a third-party translator and occasionally, depending on the foreigner, interpreter. There's not many foreigners that get in where I go, but it does happen, and when it does, they need me. And as such an ambassador, I've taken it upon myself to call BS. Now, does this experience somehow make me an expert on Japanese tattoo culture? I get it, not necessarily. But does 3 years of doing this make me more experienced than maybe your weeaboo Shibuya basement getting ankle tattoo person who uses gaijin unironically YouTuber? God, I would hope so. And for this video, I know exactly the points you guys are you're gonna bust out of your seat and just freaking come with anger. And when that happens, I got you. I got this alert that's gonna pop on the screen. We're gonna get some red lights flashing me. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's gonna get crazy. But I will hear you out when you hit these parts, and we'll know we're gonna hit these parts because this guy's a coming. And when we get there, I will address the criticism. Now let's talk about actual tattoo culture in Japan. And this is the core to this whole video. Japanese people, read my lips, Japanese people do not care if you are white and have tattoos at all. Okay, first one, we got it, right? We got it? Chad, that's racist. No, it is freaking not. No matter how fluent you are in your own head, no matter how many body pillows you have, no matter how giant your manga collection is in Japanese, Chad, it's all in Japanese. It's not in English. I'm not a plebe. No matter anything that you think, despite what Canada Gen 3 will tell you about citizenship, even if you're a citizen, Japanese people will always look at your whitey white pudgy face and say you are foreign. And it's a real problem, and that is racist. But I'm just explaining the racism. Technically, it's not even racist. I retract that because they're not doing it from a place of hate or thinking that the Japanese race is superior. They're just doing it because in their minds, it's just not. You are just not that. We are so, especially in the Western world, England, Canada, America, other parts of Europe, we're so multicultural, we don't realize that Japan is like 99% ethnically Japanese. And the language is so hard that even me, living there, I've never met someone who, when I hear them talk, sounds like if I turned around and they were white, I would be like, oh, I'm so shocked. It's just not a thing. And so for the daily lives of these people, I'm not judging, I understand their point. They look at my white face, and no matter how good I am at Japanese, or how tiny my is, or how many fights I get in front of Family Mart, I will always be American. Now, why did I bring this up? Because it's important to talk about their culture. The people that have these tattoos, the reason all of these rules were instated were because of Japanese people with these tattoos. What do I mean by that? I mean that for a long time, starting around World War II, because that's around when the Yakuza and these different groups were coming up, there were people that would fight over turf, that would cause trouble, that would try and act tough and masculine and meh. And a lot of those people, especially if they were causing fights and onsens and other such situations when you wouldn't necessarily be allowed to have tattoos, had tattoos because tattoos were associated with those groups at the time. Carry on to 2017. Japan is incredibly westernized. It is, you see foreigners often, and you see a lot more Japanese people that have tattoos that have no association with the various Yakuza groups. And by the way, there are many actually Yakuza groups in every single prefecture. It's not like the Yakuza's one group over all of Japan. There's many different groups, and they all feud in the streets. What I'm saying is that they're associating tattoos with these types of people, but because it's so westernized, and just about every Westerner I've met in Japan has either a tattoo or face piercings. I'm not gonna say gauges, stretched ears, whatever. Even the last 3 to 4 years, they've become way more adjusted to it, way more exposed to it, especially if you're in a city that has a high population of foreigners. So how does this pertain? It means that when they see you, they do not see a possible Yakuza connection. That's just Japanese. In case you don't know, I'm like 99% sure whitey ain't allowed in the Yakuza, right? They see a foreigner who has tattoos. They also see a potential business person, someone that can come and give me money, an okyakusama, a person that will pay my rent. And if they see that you're not a threat and they see that you're not some, trash douchebag, but you're just wanting to experience this facet of Japanese culture, especially sentos, because sentos are declining in rapid rates all over the country, they're significantly likely to let you in. In fact, I've never been to a sento, a artificially heated bathhouse, that ever turned someone away for tattoos. And I actually tested this in the last couple trips. I've gone with other white people to sentos, both boys and girls, and we all have tattoos and piercings and stuff. Never once did it even come up. We just went up and paid, and they told us where to go, and they let us in. And see, this is one of the things that frustrates me just so badly about other YouTubers, because I was much like you, watching people that go and live and do life in Japan, but they're so uneducated because they don't freaking talk to people. They don't go to tattoo shops and ask people. They ask the goody two-shoes, one person that happens to speak the best English, because I guarantee you're not having an in-depth cultural discussion with someone in Japanese. None of those tubers were when I was watching them. And they say, oh no, tattoos are not okay. You really think they have the English ability, or they at the time had the Japanese ability to articulately talk to people about this? The country's becoming westernized whether people like it or not, and it is becoming extremely foreigner-friendly and vastly easier to navigate. And they're expecting Westerners from Canada, from Europe, from America to have tattoos, because most of us do. I don't know how there's any YouTubers now that have had any discussion about tattoos in Japan, or maybe got one themselves and then tried to go to an onsen, that ever was a problem. Well, period. Okay, got it.
But Chad, maybe she didn't say your tattoos.
Okay, I've taken at least a dozen people to onsens when I've been giving guides and tours and stuff, myself included. And besides having facial piercings, I've brought people with neck tattoos. I brought people with head tattoos. I had a girl with a teardrop tattoo I took once. I also had people that had their full sleeves done and they were wearing tank tops. You go in the front and you pay them, and then there's the boy and the girl curtain, and then you slip behind. That crap, not a word, didn't care. Looked on the walls. I saw rules. None of them said no tattoos. There may still be ones that say no tattoos, but those people are archaic and they are being shut out. They are going away. And thank God for that. Thank God that that's the case, that we can say we're freaking leaving this. This is nonsense. We don't want any part of it. That's a great thing. And pretty much in 3 to 5 years, that's gonna be a thing of the past. The 2020 Olympics, they are trying to make this place foreigner friendly. Do you really think all these onsens are gonna turn away a potential 1,000% increase a day in profit just because of their tattoo rule? You're stoned. As long as you are foreign and you look foreign, so you're not some other type of Asian, especially if you're a girl, seems though no girl Yakuza are gonna cause freaking problems in there, I'll bet all the gay chemicals Obama's putting in the water,
Serious crap.
that they're not gonna be afraid of you, and that as long as you are polite and humble and ask nicely, they will not care. Why would they? They're gonna miss out on getting 20 bucks from you. Basic economics, people. Jeez and crackers. This is why I'm so mad that people don't learn the language to talk to people before they spout BS on the internet. I've interviewed at least 100 people, let alone the thousands of conversations I've talked to, especially about tattoos, because I have a bunch. And they always go, no, I think it's cool. I wouldn't personally get one, but I think it's cool. And I go, do you think that there's any problem with me going to restaurants or stores? And they said, no, why would that be a thing? And the answer is because it's not. It's not a thing. It's a myth. Perpetuated by white people with cameras, much like myself, but who put in half the effort to learn the language, to talk to actual Japanese people and ask. Anyways, on to the next part. I'm getting too frustrated. If it wasn't clear from the last part, just stop the video here if you're not willing to learn the language, but for some reason want to go to Japan to get a tattoo. I'm not the guy to help you. I don't care. I have a buddy who I say this all the time, got one of the worst tattoos I've ever seen on the back of his hand and got charged $700 for a black and white. Just a standard picture the artist has probably done 100 times because it was foreigner friendly, because there was English, because you can find it on Google. And if you're gonna go the route of Googling something or trying to find someone that can, you know, meet you in the middle with English, I'm not the person for you. To be honest, I wouldn't trust that an eighth of the way because they're gonna charge out the butt for it. They're gonna overcharge you 4 to 5 times. But if you're willing to like listen to my experience and story, which is the only one I can give you because I've only been to a few shops in Japan, they're not ever gonna be shops you're gonna see on the street and it's gonna say blah 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 tattoo. Those shops suck. Don't go there. Most Japanese tattoo artists are they work for a certain we'll call them a family. They work for a certain family and they only work inside those bounds. So they tattoo 8 hours a day because they do giant pieces. Big piece, big piece, big piece, big piece, big piece, fill in, fill in, fill in, fill in over months and years. And they do it for individual people. So they're not really big on small pieces. Just a heads up if you're trying to go, I just want something tiny. Generally speaking, that's not the Japanese style. The Japanese style are big, singular pieces that you can modularly put in with clouds and water and different style stuff. So if you're not prepared to get a giant piece and you're not prepared to go out and try and meet strangers and not have this prepared before your trip to Japan, I'd say maybe you're not ready for this type of lifestyle commitment, right? This video isn't just for every foreigner trying to get a tattoo. I'm talking to people that want to be a part of the Japanese tattoo culture, who want to go there for this. This video is for you. Learn the language, get very good with keigo and very modest and humble vocabulary, and just talk to people when you're here. Keep coming until you find a shop you like, and then really dig your roots in. If you do this, you're gonna be able to finagle your way in like I did, and I have a very amazing friend because of it. Now let's just say for some reason you absolutely can't find a shop. You just can't find people with exposed tattoos and you've been trying. Chad, how can I shortcut this? Well, there is a method. I would go to certain convenience stores. It depends on where you live. You may have to hit up a couple, but you're gonna find one that's probably in a shady area that has magazines that look like these. Shouts out to Yas for sending me these. Actually, yes, there's magazines for organized crime in Japan. You'll see inside these big, beautiful pieces that are there to display not necessarily a shop, but an artist. And if you see in whatever picture I'm putting up here, if I'm zooming in, even though it's probably not great quality, if you zoom all the way in, you'll see that these are actually people's names and phone numbers. It's because most Japanese shops aren't, it's not like in the West where we have these good and, I'm talking foreign now, good and bad shops and you know, one shop's super really good and this shop's really bad, and it's not about that, it's about the artist individual, because most of these types of tattoo shops have one person in them. That's 2 people. 1 person in them. And if you find these magazines, you can go through and try and contact these people. They 99% of the time won't text, and there's usually not an email. Sometimes there is, which is awesome. But you might have to be, you know, pretty good at spoken Japanese to weasel your way in. A lot of these guys are hesitant to take foreigners, not even for a racist reason, not even for like, oh, I hate foreigners. Well, there's probably some of that, but it's not usually that. Most of the time, it's because these people go, this is a permanent body modification. Because of this, if there's a big language barrier, which is most foreigners in Japan, I should say, they're nervous because they don't want to misunderstand and then have you be like, that's not what I said, and then be stuck with it. It's, if anything, it's a courtesy to foreigners to be like, I don't think I can accommodate you because I don't speak English. That's why it's massive. Be articulate in Japanese, spoken and written. Be polite. Be like, look, I understand that there's gonna be vagueness and misunderstandings. That's okay. It's more about our relationship than it is about getting whatever it is that I want. And that's where the #1 rule in Japan comes from.
Do not be a douche in a foreign country.
All right, let's move on to prices. Again, if you're not at a foreigner-friendly place that is not English-based and on Google, the prices are significantly cheaper because they are doing it as a community builder and not necessarily as a services rendered business like everything else that you can do. They're more about having a 15 to 20 person client base they know very well over many years, as opposed to having one person they can milk super hard for a small piece for one day. Those shops are very disingenuous and I don't want any part of that. So how do I know the prices? I've gotten tattoos myself in America and in Japan, as well as asking my tattoo artist in America and in Japan. Both of them have been tattooing. One of them's been tattooing for 14 years. One of them, the Japanese one's been tattooing for 34 years. Longer than I've been alive. So I think they're both probably pretty good sources of info. Let's take a look at two pieces, specifically two pieces I have. This is Kawanashi, it's no face, and this is my dragon, and still swollen. I need to do an update video on that. Both these pieces cost the same price. This one cost me about $300. This one costed me $350 plus a $50 tip for $400. Both are black and white. This one, when it's completely finished, with color, with shading, the whole side of my body from here down to my knee, will be $300. And there's no tip in Japan. According to my American guy, this piece would cost around $2,000 plus tip here in the States, and you also probably wouldn't find someone that could do that good of a job on it. Okay, next piece. We have this chest piece, which is Clayton's piece we got him, his chest piece, and then as similar as I could find for an American shop. This one I think is from New Jersey, from the research I've done. This one was $350. This one was $1,200 plus tip. Do you guys see what I'm getting at here? It is, if you were trying to get something like this in Japan, at a foreigner-friendly shop, you're gonna pay $4,000. It's gonna be more than if you just got it in America. But if you just take a little bit of time, that's your dude. This is easy. Getting to this level of Japanese is super duper easy. Also, the Japanese pricing scheme from my shop and from the other shops I've heard about in my area, I don't even know if it's regionally different. I can only speak for the south of Japan because that's my home place is there. You typically pay for each installment that you come in. So you'll pay an upfront, that is your holding fee. I've usually seen this no matter the tattoo to be $50. Then he'll say, well, what's the total price of this thing finished in his head? And he'll divide that out by sessions. So your first session will be lines, and that'll be, because these are giant pieces, that'll end up being, you know, $100. Then it'll be like, okay, we'll do $100 to shade it and $100 to color it, totaling $350 for this big piece. And you can pay it each 100 bit when you go in that time, and you just finish the payment your last session. Super reasonable. Fine.
But Chad, that can't be clean. Look, it's so cheap out there for cleaning supplies.
Alrighty, let's go to sanitation. Guys, I don't think I have to be the one to tell you this. It's 2017. This is not 1940s Chicago where we reuse needles and just wash it off in some water. There are high standards of sanitation basically worldwide in the world of tattoo. Every culture will be plus or minus a certain percentage, but nobody reuses needles except for maybe in tribal cultures. Japan is a first world country. It is technologically advanced. They have tattoo machines, and guns, and UV lights, and gas sterilizers. The same as every country. The one thing though, this is the thing that shocked me. They smoke in the studio. And this has been at every single tattoo shop I've been to in Japan. They smoke in the studio. Most people that I've seen will do it before you start. They will do it any type of break. If you're just like, I just need 5 minutes. They'll smoke then, and they'll smoke after, but they'll smoke inside. They won't go outside to smoke. Took me a little bit to get used to that. Something you just probably are gonna have to get used to, because I don't want to be the guy to tell this Yakuza dude, hey, can you go do that outside? I'm not gonna do that. And I would suggest you don't either. Just accept, hey, he's gonna smoke in here, compartmentalize that however you need, and then just get over it. But that's about it for this program, you guys. I am so exhausted of this topic. I get so much freaking ignorance in the comments, in my DMs and IMs. I'm over it. So this is gonna be my last comprehensive video. If for whatever reason you have a question that I did not cover in this video, I'm of course gonna read every single one and I will answer you. If I didn't cover something genuinely that you wanna know, I got your back. If this helped you at all, seriously, right now, stop what you're doing. You're about to click off, like the video. That helps me hugely. I wanna keep making this content. I wanna keep answering your guys' questions, but I can't if I have to quit YouTube. Like this, it makes other people find me, so that way even when you go on your merry way, I can help other people. It keeps the ecosystem moving. Questions, comments, concerns, compliments, drop them in the bog down below. Subscribe to my channel for content on Japan and Japanese, who's or whatever's. Live streams on Saturdays, podcasts on Mondays. You guys get the drift by now. I'll catch you on the live stream Saturday, and Feliz Navidad.